kick this off. It's interesting. I was just added to a chat group on Facebook.
Right. Before you say that,
this link so I can
intro to this.
Not really.
All right, Snakes, Stogies, rock and roll.
Snakes and Stogies, episode 4. What
were you gonna say? Your Facebook group?
Yeah, I'm posting the link to this real quick.
Do what you must, sir. Do what you must.
So people know what's happening.
I got the blurb on my
Facebook
phone saying that Palmeticos Exotics was now live on the YouTube.
We are live on the YouTube.
Yeah, because I follow that, you know. Actually, one of the venomous guys today was telling me about Twitch and how we should do that.
Yeah, I haven't really played with it a whole lot. I don't know how easy it is to coordinate. Because, I mean, if you think about it, there's a very large gap as far as platforms, and I don't think there's anybody doing reptiles on Twitch.
Yeah, and they were basically just saying about how it's an awesome platform in the sense of you're going to reach out to millions more people that don't like YouTube because they think YouTube's antiquated for some reason, which I find hard to believe, but I'm also quite analog myself.
I think it's people are starting to jump ship. I think YouTube is on it's on the it's on its heels, kind of. Not necessarily the last leg, but things are just not they're not in good graces at the moment with the general populace.
Right. He was also saying how you do the Twitch video, and again, I don't know what I'm talking about. I could be totally wrong, but you do the Twitch video, and then it saves to your library on your Twitch account or whatever, and then you can transfer them or upload them to Instagram and YouTube and whatever. So if you want to make an Instagram IGTV thing, you just, there it is. Supposedly. I don't know. I'm still working with an iPhone 6, so look at me.
Android. All the way. I got an email. I'm live on my own channel.
Oh.
Now I know.
Knowing's happening.
So yeah, me and Jake were added to this chat group of other South Carolina, like 2 or 3 other South Carolina guys.
Yeah.
And apparently South Carolina Senate bill would protect wild turtles and other reptiles and amphibians from commercial exploitation.
Really?
As of today. Says a new bill in the South Carolina Senate Committee on Fish, Game, and Forestry would ban the commercial trade of native reptiles and amphibians in the state. The bipartisan measure seeks to end years of extensive poaching, which, enabled by the state's weak conservation laws, threaten wild populations. Senate Bill 885 was pre-filed December 11, 2019 by Senators Vincent Sheehan and George Campson ahead of the 2020 legislative session beginning today. The bill would make it unlawful for a person to sell, purchase, trade, exchange, barter, export, ship, transfer, possess, or rehome any native reptile or amphibian species, with limited exceptions for personal possession of certain species as established by state wildlife officials.
Wow. That sucks.
This legislation is a lifeline for South Carolina's rare and beautiful reptiles and amphibians, which are targeted for sale in domestic and international markets, said Elise Bennett, a staff attorney at the Center for Biological Diversity, who's dedicated to protecting rare reptiles and amphibians. Turtles are especially vulnerable to overcollection as the demand for them is so high. We're thrilled South Carolina is poised to join the majority of states across the country that help protect their wild turtles.
Oh, what a crock.
Scientists have repeatedly documented that freshwater turtles cannot sustain any significant level of wild collection without population-level impacts and declines. One study of common snapping turtles demonstrated that a modest harvest of 10% per year for 15 years could result in a 50% reduction in population size.
Well, yeah, it's 10% over 5 years.
In 2018, state wildlife officials arrested a kingpin in an international scheme to traffic rare turtles, along with at least 5 other men from South Carolina. His role in trafficking rare turtles from South Carolina to dealers in New York, Hong Kong, and the Carolinas. And in September 2019, state officials seized 216 turtles from a trafficker who was planning to ship them to Asia.
I remember seeing that. I do.
So, if you want, here's my kind of take on the whole thing.
Go for it. Fire away.
South Carolina is not the most strict of states.
Correct.
I know turtles are, like, as far as what's caught around here, like spotted turtles and stuff like that, like there is a big demand for that kind of stuff. I don't entirely disagree with it, but that's a huge but, like capital B-U-T, double asterisks. My biggest issue is us becoming Georgia 2.0.
Mm-hmm.
Like I see copperheads that are wild caught and sold at shows. I see corn snakes that are wild caught and sold at shows. Do I think that now I won't be able to find corn snakes because someone is over collecting? Absolutely not.
Right. I think that it is a massive push by I don't want to use the word tree huggers, but a massive push by those type of individuals to stop any kind of anything. And their numbers.
Well, here's something interesting. Check this out. So the contacts for this are Elise Bennett for the Center of Biological Diversity, Rick Hudson of the Turtle Survival Alliance, and Paul Gibbons. I don't know who he is, but apparently Rick Hudson is with the Fort Worth Zoo because his email is at fortworthzoo.org.
Okay, and isn't Fort Worth in Texas?
Yes. But he's with the Turtle Survival Alliance.
Oh, that's right.
He's with the TSA.
Yeah. Okay.
So we're at kind of an odd spot now, because I feel like if I take this to some of my like ecologist buddies here in the state, they're probably not going to be on board without all out banning, because a lot of them really aren't in the hobby side of things, like keeping and stuff.
Right.
A lot of them are like, we must preserve everything, even if it doesn't affect the wild population at all. Like, we shouldn't have them. So this is interesting.
I learned the hard way, because I thought like they did for a long time, because I went to several different herp spots that were known for having good snakes, bountiful snakes. One might call them like the spot in my, tri-county area. And our counties are really big. There's like 2.5 or 3 million people in just my one county. And I watched it over the course of about 12, 15 years. I watched the snakes disappear. And it was because people were taking them. It was because of over collecting. But the problem is, if I drove 1.5 miles, 2 miles up the street where no one ever went because they didn't know the go there, I could, in theory, catch 50, 60 snakes in a night. And
right.
I learned that my thought process of, these assholes are poaching all of our native wildlife. No. Yeah, they ran a well dry, but there's a lot of wells and there's a lot of animals. And most of Florida's terrain is privately owned by agriculture. And damn well farmers aren't letting ecologists go on their property to snakes, let alone have enough ecologists to properly do an actual census, if you will. So there's always going to be more than, in my personal opinion, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a herpetologist, I'm not an ecologist. In my personal opinion, there's always going to be more than what we see or what is shown to us. The Burmese pythons, for example, scientists did a study saying that there were X amount of pythons per X amount of area. Well, what they did was they took that number and they multiplied it by every acre in the state of Florida.
Well,
So,
right. That's a statistic. They can't.
right. And that's
they use that to extrapolate whether it's accurate or not. They're like, this is a statistic. These numbers don't lie.
right. But the problem is that they are incorrect because there are no Burmese pythons in Orlando. There are no Burmese pythons in Gainesville. There are no Burmese pythons in Pensacola. They're not there. The area where they are, yeah, it's kind of concentrated. But personally, I go in the Everglades at least once a week, and I've never seen one. And now I am a little biased because I don't go to the known spots on purpose because I kind of don't want to see one. You know what I mean?
Right.
But they are not in my backyard right now. Excuse me. They're not in my backyard right now. They're not eating the neighbor's dog. It's number exaggeration, in my opinion. And
yeah,
now,
I mean, I understand. Like turtles in South Carolina have been a thing for a while, you know. But to then just say, hey, because people are bleeding these dry, that must mean they must be bleeding dry every other native species we have.
mm-hmm.
Like, let's ban them.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's so frustrating because South Carolina has been like the last bastion of like total freedom.
Yep.
When it comes to keeping stuff, you know, we have fortunately sort of higher up in the hills of Columbia, our capital. We have a herpetologist, who's Rudy Menke. So I think he's kind of been going to bat for us a little bit, but it's just frustrating. Like I don't see the point. You know, it's like turtles I can understand. Like, yes, maybe pay attention to those a little more. Is that going to stop people from doing what they're doing? Probably not.
Right, and it's kind of the same topic, and I don't want to bring guns into it. You know, it's just guns are easy to talk about because the numbers are there, but people don't want to see it. It's no different than the guard gate at the community. Okay, you have a neighborhood community. The guard gate lets people in and lets people not in. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no fence around the community. I can just around the guard gate. I'm still going to break the law by driving around the guard gate. It's the same thing. You can ban the turtle. You can ban the owning of these turtles or the harvesting of these turtles till you're blue in the face. The bad guys are still going to smuggle them to China or smuggle them to Singapore or smuggle them to the UK or wherever they're smuggling them. So those guys are still going to break the law. All it does is hurt the good people. It's no different than the guns. You ban the guns, and all of a sudden, bad guys are always going to have guns. They're bad guys. So
they didn't care before. They're not going to care now.
Exactly. And now Florida is under a similar thing that I just got sent an email. Did you send it to me?
Oh, yeah. No, I saw it, though. I know what you're talking about.
Basically, the reptiles of concern, which they have deemed reptiles of concern, which are the quasi-banned snakes. And
it was like scrubs, berms, retics.
Right. Now, about a year ago, maybe, they officially banned the first actual banned reptile in the state of Florida. And you know what it was?
And it was the one species of anaconda nobody has.
No, it's the yellow. They banned yellows.
I thought it was the other species that no one has. Or was that just thrown into it?
That was hearsay. If you look at the actual statute, it says that the buying, selling, trading, possessing, breeding, exporting, the simple having it in your possession of a yellow anaconda is now illegal in the state of Florida, which is crazy because they weren't even on that funky list. They weren't even on the restricted list. They just pulled it out of their hat. So
I'm sure that was one person. They consulted like one individual, and that one individual was like yellow anacondas, and they're like, "You heard the man. Like, get to it, ban them."
And here's the kicker. So nobody believes that was real. Everyone believes that nobody believes that was a real thing. They did that to test the waters. They wanted to Bugs Bunny their toe in the water to see how easy it would be to just poof, ban everything. And now they want to basically ban everything that I just said in terms of possessions, trade, sale, everything. They want to ban it all from that restricted list. So that means that the buying, selling, trading, breeding, and exporting and importing of retics, berms, actual amethystine pythons, rock pythons, both north and south, yellow anaconda, green anaconda, Nile monitor, and all of those would be banned. And then they want to add green iguana and tegu. And
I did see that.
It's not specified as to which type of tegu. They don't say.
See, and that's funny because it's like, why are you banning iguanas now? They've already taken hold. Like
Exactly.
they're already there. They're not going anywhere.
Right.
They're not getting rid of iguanas at this point. It's not going to happen.
It'll never happen.
They're always going to be there forever.
So now at the same time, by the way, Matthew, you're a douche. I'm assuming he's watching. He just texted me, "You're stupid. Get off YouTube." If I have a child, right? Let's say I have a 12-year-old boy who wants to get into lizards, and he thinks iguanas are cool, and he catches one that happens to be swimming in the pool, and he rescues it out of the chlorinated pool and wants to keep it as a pet. Now that kid's going to get a fine, or better yet,
now instead you take it back and shoot it, and the kid has to watch.
Yeah. And here's the real good part. To the best of my knowledge, the people who are verifying those laws are biologists who, from my understanding, are in college, who are still undergrad, who have not done any field work, who are literally just office people who are working their way through a biology degree or whatever. And I could be wrong. I don't mean to generalize or stereotype. But all of a sudden they tell me what I can and cannot have when they have no facts to back it up other than someone who wrote something in some paper. And then to make matters even more interesting, when I renewed my licenses this year for 2019 renewal for 2020, now granted, I was like 3 weeks late because I did not get my mail on time. But then I mailed it out in the beginning of October. It expired in September. I mailed it out like the first week of October. I have yet to get my licenses. Why?
It's a
renewal. It's not even a new applicant. It's a renewal. I had to write a letter to the state of Florida declaring my sole intentions for the possession of those restricted animals I just told you about. And I said, this license is for breeding and selling, correct? And the person on the phone said, yeah, that's what it's for. I said, so then why do I need to write a letter saying what I'm going to do? I'm going to breed and sell them. All right, I'll stop getting upset now. Sorry.
Well, I'm reading more of this thing, and at the bottom it says background. It says, as a part of a campaign to protect turtles in the United States, the Center for Biological Diversity in 2009 submitted a regulatory petition to South Carolina asking it to ban commercial trapping of wild turtles. That year, South Carolina limited the transport of some turtle species across state lines. However, these rules left the striped mud turtle, southeastern mud turtle, eastern musk turtle, and bog turtle vulnerable to unregulated collection. Following similar center petitions and advocacy, Florida, Missouri, and Texas banned commercial collection of wild freshwater turtles. New York halted commercial collection of diamondback terrapin turtles, and Nevada halted commercial reptile collection, I guess, period. Arkansas and Georgia and Iowa adopted some restrictions. So, like, I don't have any issue with that. Like, yeah, ban trapping wild turtles. That's still not going to stop anybody.
Mm-hmm.
If those 4 species that were left out are an issue, add them in.
Yeah,
it seems like a fairly simple solution. Like,
you're conceding to the give an inch, take a mile. You don't give them an inch. You know what I mean?
Well, so I'm saying it's already in place, so it's not really giving them inch. Like, they're already in. Like, if they're there and these are now a problem, just put those in with the other freshwater turtles and be done.
Yeah,
and watch how many people still do it.
I don't know how it is in South Carolina, but I sat in on an FWC reptile-related hearing. Not hearing, what do they call it? When they're proposing a bill. And about 10 or 15 articulate individuals came up and spoke on behalf of the herpers of Florida. Their speeches were well-orchestrated, well-written, like I said, articulate. And when push came to shove, it didn't mean anything. They don't care.
Yeah. Well, it's also mad. Like, their mind's already made up going into that thing, dude. Exactly. They don't care what everybody else says. It's already been decided. They just have to do this because they have to. Like, they can't not do it and not get the peasants' opinions.
Right.
You know, so they're like, well, they made their mind up going into it, I'm sure. And they were like, well, we have to sit here now and listen to these people. So,
yeah.
They, like, their mind's already made up, you know.
Yeah, the individual I just made fun of, Matt, who made fun of me, him and his wife were big snake people. They had a ton of retics and berms and anacondas and all awesome snakes, and that was their passion. and the state literally cut them off at the knees to the point where they had to give away their animals, sell off their vision cages, because what's the point in having a 6-foot vision with you can't have a big snake? Luckily, a couple of their animals got rehomed at local zoos and stuff like that, so they can at least go see their animals. But for what? You know what I mean?
Right.
They never
doesn't affect anybody but them.
No one ever got bit. No one ever got strangled to death. No dogs were eaten.
You talking about Emu Matt? Or Cassowary Matt?
Yes, Cassowary Matt, yes. Matt and Jamie. Hopefully they're watching. So
good people. I enjoyed hanging out with them at Daytona.
They're great people.
Every time I see cassowaries on Facebook now, I think about that conversation and just what absolute death machines those freaking birds are.
Were you the one that sent me the video of the guy like with the GoPro? Like,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Dude, that's the scariest shit ever.
Right.
Like,
I think Katie was watching it with me. I was like, you understand these things would kill you in like a heartbeat.
Wow.
It's literally a dinosaur.
And like
almost more dinosaur than a crocodile. Like literally like Jurassic Park.
Yeah. I think I would rather pet a wild croc monitor than go in the cage with the cassowary that I know is going to rip my face off.
And they ain't going to ban those, right? But you can't have a corn snake.
Stop.
Say it 3 times and like Beetlejuice, it'll just appear.
Yeah, right? Don't look in the mirror or anything.
I don't know, but me and these 4 other gentlemen, I guess we're going to see what we can do as far as talking to who we need to. Fortunately, I have a good buddy who was he was Ryan from our first stream we did where Katie was with us.
Yeah.
He's with SCDNR and he's up in Somerville, and so I sent that link to him and was like, I know you understand, because he keeps stuff. He's got, he was a big venomous guy for a long time. He has some beatids now, and he's big on dart frogs and stuff at the moment. He doesn't really have much in the way of snakes, I don't think, but
cool.
I mean, he gets it,
Yes, Cox, we can get Jake an emu. They're very expensive, but all Jake would have to do is register his home for agriculture, and it's technically a game bird in the United States.
So bizarre.
Crazy.
But yeah, I mean, like I told those guys, like, I don't entirely disagree with the thing, but the issue is that this is kind of just the beginning. Once they realize this is their litmus test.
Sure.
And
well,
because I have my corns that are wild caught.
Of course.
It's not like I'm not going and grabbing 20, every 2 weeks to flip somewhere. Like I literally have 3. 2 of them I got when they were like fresh out of the egg, like tiny. And then the male I have, he's a little older, but still nothing major. Like I don't like taking adults. I don't like. If I find something small, like if I find a baby in the pool in like the skimmer box or something.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, because what are the odds that thing's even going to make it to adulthood?
Exactly.
Probably pretty slim.
Exactly. It's got a better chance with you than it does out in the pool filter. Drinking all that chlorine, fumes and crap. I don't know, man. I'm against over poaching. I'm against over harvest. I think that a healthy harvest is good for the system. But I think Florida had a cool law. I don't know if it changed. I know it changed for Florida pine snakes. They basically made them completely protected. Which, you know what? I'm all right with it. If it got to the point where they felt that it needed to be like that, okay. But from I guess it was 2 years ago is when they changed the law. Prior to 2 years ago, the history of the Western culture in Florida, you could own, I think it was 1 pine snake per person per household. I think same thing with like a diamondback terrapin. You could have one per person,
right.
But you couldn't buy it. You couldn't trade for it. You had to field collect it. And then babies, you could give a baby away, but you couldn't sell it or trade it. And here's the thing: if it's me and my roommate, and we each have a pet, we have 1 turtle each. That's perfect. You know what I mean? But you come over that, and I have a kiddie pool with 60 of them in it. That's illegal. That's bad. I'm a smuggler. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now someone's going to take that clip and they're going to doctor it.
See, what doesn't make sense to me is like SCDNR is constantly running studies on like cobia populations.
Right.
Like cobia fishing lately for the last couple of years has been really rough, and because they've been overfished, and so SCDNR got to a point where they're like, no one's, cobia season basically isn't going to exist for the next like 2 years because these things aren't like, they're not doing well. They put regulations on hunting deer. They put regulations on shooting ducks, quail, all that stuff, whatever. How is that any different than collecting wild reptiles? The only difference is you're selling them instead of eating it.
Which is funny because most of the fishermen, they're doing it commercially anyway. The ones that are taking large hauls of fish, they're commercial fishing. And they have a commercial fishing license, They have a quota. They have a size limit. They have a bag limit, whatever you want to call it. It's like lobsters down here. The lobsters down here, you're allowed so many per person, per day, per season, and it has to be a certain size. And you know what? If you're on a private boat or a charter boat and you're lobstering and you don't have that special lobster ruler, bolted to the side of the boat, you're an asshole. You deserve it.
It doesn't make sense because it seems to me that SCDNR has done a pretty good job as far as regulating cobia and stuff like that. Right. Like knowing when to say, hey, no cobia. And I mean, obviously you're going to have people that catch cobia and they're like, I'm taking this thing home. I'm eating it.
Yeah.
But they seems like they do a pretty good job managing deer populations and fish populations and all these other things. Like, why would this be any different?
It's what Steve Rinella calls the cute and cuddly syndrome, or the cute and cuddly theory. It's no different than the grizzly bears in Yellowstone. Yellowstone is inundated with grizzly bears. We brought them back from extinction, and we did a great job of it. We protected them, we nurtured them, we studied them medically as well as ecologically. But now there's too many, and now they're overburdening the prey populace to the point where now you're having them leave the park. And now they're going onto farmland. Well, here's the problem. You're not allowed to shoot them. You're not allowed to hunt them. There is no tag. There is no conservation donation. No, it's just they're cute and cuddly, so we can't kill them. But a rattlesnake that's protected, you could shoot it with a pistol and no one cares. You can shoot 60 of them and no one cares. Why? Because it's not cute and cuddly. The normal bats. Boy.
Those people have never seen a bear attack.
Yeah, exactly. And now
you need to go watch The Revenant.
You have, stations like National Geographic, which are world-renowned and breathtaking and beautiful, and they spread education and conservation, and they educate people through amazing photography and videography and stuff like that. But at the same time, they put out a documentary on wolves in a national park and how the wolves changed the ecosystem and they made it better. The rivers flowed better and the elk made more baby elk and the deer did better and the foxes did better because the deer did better. And it's this chain reaction until you get to the point where you have more wolves than,
right.
Team.
The balance.
Right. The balance. And you know what?
There's checks and balances in nature.
Right.
Like they exist for a reason.
Right. And that's why you have what's called wildlife management.
And hey, I mean, if there's a permit to collect, hey, you can, same thing, just like the fish and stuff. Like collecting does take some of that pressure off.
Sure.
And creates a vacuum that then now needs to be filled. And I don't know, just like to say that I couldn't own a yellow rat snake or collect yellow rat snakes is funny because those things practically fall out of the trees here. They're everywhere. Like They're really, 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 really common.
Yeah.
Especially here on Ladies Island where I live, like racers and yellow rats are pretty much the two snakes you see all the time. Like I really don't see a whole lot of other stuff. It's like, what's like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's really tough to put into words, but like hunting does good things for all these other species that they regulate.
Right.
How would this be any different? I mean, yes, there is such thing as too much.
Sure.
Yes, there's a line that can be drawn.
Right.
But why can't we enforce that line just like we do all the other lines?
Yep. Florida had a great program in 2016. So I don't know how it is in the Carolinas, but black bear have been really, really bad in I'll say peninsular Florida for the most part, mostly on the west coast of Florida.
Yeah, we don't have them here on the coast.
Okay. And I've actually only ever seen one black bear in my county, and that was during brush fires. It actually was really small. It looked like a Rottweiler running across the road. And I was like, man, what the heck's a Rottweiler doing out in the Everglades? And I was like, oh, that's a little black bear. So I've seen a good handful of bear in the wild. But in 2016, the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission put out a bear tag. And they said this is going to be a trial thing. We're only going to issue, I think it was like 500 tags.
Yep.
First come, first serve lottery kind of thing. But there was a rule, and it was your tag is for Monday through Friday. And again, I may butcher this, but Monday through Friday. They want to get a goal of like 283 bears. That was like the goal. And they said the minute they get to like 283 or 280, they stop. And that's it. And obviously there's going to be some shot after that or hunted after that, you know, because the word didn't get around fast enough, but they figured that was a good enough window. So if everybody gets their bear, gets 280 something bear on day one, guess what? All those other guys for the rest of the week, sorry. And I thought that was a great system. Well, they pulled, I think it was 302 or 301 bears within the first 24 hours. And they got more data in that one day of hunting than they did in like 15 or 20 years of bear study. You know, because
I believe it.
And they made restrictions. No part of the bear could be sold for profit. No part of the bear could be bartered. Like, you can't like trade the pelt for like, you know, some deer meat or something. It had to be used for whatever. You want to taxidermy it. You want to eat it, go ahead, eat it, get some trichinosis. But I found it amazing. And they said, listen, this was 2016. We're going to give 2017 a break. And if we feel the numbers are back up for 18, we'll do it again in 18. We'll try it again. Well, I'm pretty sure it has yet to be brought back. And you know what? I'm okay with that. It will come back in time. But
at least they tried. Like, at least they're looking at solutions that help both sides out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because they did a similar thing with gator hunts here. Like, they only do a limited number of permits each year, and it's for a limited number of gators. I think it's like literally like you get one gator. And there's only, I think, 600 licenses sold a year for that. And it's kind of like a lottery system, too. So,
and now, are you allowed to use firearms or no?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, in Florida, you are prohibited. It's the same thing. It's a lottery, and it's by zone. And like when you put in for the lottery, you get to pick where you want to go. And then if you do get picked, you usually don't get the choice of you get picked for one of the spots you requested. Not guarantee you're going to get the best spot, but you're going to get a spot if you get selected. But you're not allowed to use firearms. You have to use, and this is the crazy part, because to me, as an animal lover and an animal person, because there's animal lovers and there's animal people. You know what I mean? A lot of people think that, you know, lizards are cool and they love lizards, but they ain't going to have them in their house. Me as an animal lover, as well as a hunter, as well as a sportsman, an outdoorsman, a gentleman, we have to use a harpoon with a line or a treble hook. And to me, and I've done it with harpoon, I have, and we tried to make it as quick and painless as possible for the gator.
Not going to happen with that.
It's still kind of fucked up, though.
Yeah.
And to be honest, the harpoon to me wasn't nearly as bad as the treble hook, because the treble hook, you're literally throwing these hooks in this guy's back and wrestling him to wherever you're going to get him to, and then you legally have to use a bang stick. What's up, herp nerd? And for those of you who aren't familiar with a bang stick, it's also referred to as a power head. It's basically a large pole with a special device at the end of it that is pressure sensitive. And you would put.
Is it like the thing they use for cattle?
No. This is typically it was used for sharks underwater, but for a lot of other things. But basically, picture a broom handle, a long pole, whether it be wood or aluminum or whatever. And on the end of it, it has what's called a power head. The power head is a metal device that holds a single bullet or a single shotgun shell. And there's like
a yes, I know what you're talking about now.
Pin in there, like a grenade, and the pin is the safety. So what you would do is you would get the gator tired out from these harpoons and the ropes and stuff. You'd get it to the boat, and then at that time, see, I feel like the harpoons are better because it has a little tiny prick in its back, and those things are armor plated, and it doesn't even really feel that pain, but you're still tiring it out because you're reeling them in, so to speak. And then once it gets to the boat, you very quickly and, for lack of a better word, humanely hit it with this power head, and the impact of the stick fires off the bullet or the
Right.
and being someone who has done it, it is, in my opinion, is very humane at that point. But I still had to wrestle on
Everything leading up. Yeah.
Yeah. While as if, let's say I had a rifle and I was a good shot, I could dispatch the animal faster and, in my opinion, more humanely.
Yeah.
And now I just lost like 800 followers from that statement.
I mean, I'm completely on board with hunting the berms and stuff. You know, I have no issues with hunting. You know,
As long as it's done right, there's no
as long as it's done right in a ethical manner.
Right, ethically, right. I agree completely.
I mean, I feel bad for the berms and stuff because they didn't ask to be there. It's not their fault they're there, but they're not supposed to be there.
Mm-hmm.
I love snakes, but hey. Like if they're doing open season on berms, have at it. You know.
Right. I told you about the initial berm thing. They wanted to recruit me for that.
No.
So originally, this was a bunch of years ago, maybe like 10 years ago, when they thought they had a problem. They contacted a bunch of snake dudes, and they were like, "Listen, we know you're snake guys, and you like snakes, but we want to do like a demo, a beta test on this hunting. You want to know if you want to do it. We noticed that you had a hunting license registered with the state." And I said, "Okay, what's it entail? What can I do? What can I not do? You know, can I field collect them and keep them alive? Do I have to kill them? Do they have to be euthanasia? You know, how's it work?" And they said, "No, you are only allowed to do it between X and Y time frame. You only can do it at this one spot. And you have to use, are you ready? A shovel or a machete." And I said, "No. Thank you for the offer, but no. Not going to happen. I'm not going to hack up some poor defenseless animal with a shovel because you think it could be intrusive to native wildlife."
Well, it sounds like they're fairly confused on the whole like humanely dispatching animals thing. Because remember the whole iguana debacle they had last year, where they were like, "Yeah, kill iguanas," and then people started posting videos of like them literally like yeeting them with a freaking shopping cart and stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah. The human
Then they had to come back and say, "Wait a second, we said kill them, but do it humanely," because all these rednecks just started having a blast. You know,
and it wasn't even.
I guess
it was like
duct taping firecrackers to them and stuff like that.
The shopping cart video was like a bunch of like ghetto kids with like
kids at a playground.
Is that what it was? Kids at a playground?
I think so, or like maybe like outside of some big store or something. I don't know. It was very bizarre, but I was like, that's just messed up.
Yeah, man.
Like, yeah, kill them, but Jesus, just make it quick, make it as painless as possible.
And I mean, hell,
I'm not a hunter. I have family members that hunt all the time. I never got into it. You know, like I'm not into killing things that don't need to die necessarily.
Sure.
You know, at least by my own hand. Like I'm a hypocrite because I'll eat deer all day long. I love venison. I'll eat it constantly. I don't care.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to be the one killing it and cleaning it.
But you also, and there's no reason to judge you for that at all. You have made a conscious decision. And at the same time, you being a hypocrite by eating the venison, to me, that's not hypocritical. To me, it would be hypocritical if you chastised or shamed those other people. But no, you understand what's going on. You understand the management aspect of it. You understand the conservation aspect of it. You know, it's that nobody loves animals more than hunters. Call it.
They're tasty animals.
And it's not even about just eating it. It's the whole lifestyle, the experience, the monumental thing of, you know, you've got this father who I read a story. I follow a bunch of mountain goat stuff. I love mountain goats. They're awesome. And I followed the story of a guy in, I want to say it was Idaho, maybe Montana, you know, big sky country. And he put in for the bighorn sheep lottery tag for 28 years and never got pulled. And they do a point system. So if you start, let's say we just, for round numbers, we start in the year 2000. You put in for 2000. When you reapply in 2001, you don't have 1 point. You get 2 points. 2003, you'd have 3 points. Okay? Accumulates. and the more points you have, the better odds you have at drawing a tag. Well, he did it for like 27 years and never got a sheep. And then finally, his daughter was born, and I guess the next year, he put her in for a tag. And on her 4th birthday, she got it. He still hadn't got one, but she got the tag. Just luck of the draw. So he contacted the state, and he was like, listen, my daughter's 4. Can we do some kind of amendment so when she's 12, I can instantly get a tag? And they said, yeah, because you're sacrificing your tag for the 2015 or whatever. Absolutely. And to watch that guy take his daughter into the mountains, and he's crying out of love and happiness. Nobody loves animals more than hunters.
Yeah. Cox, the whole feral cat thing is a whole another freaking can of worms.
It really is. But it's
like,
good.
I mean, they're the second most invasive species on the planet, second to us.
Mm-hmm.
They probably beat us, actually, in terms of damage. And I love cats. Like, I am a cat person. I like cats more than I like dogs. But I have no issues with getting rid of feral cat populations as long as it's done humanely and in a proper way, you know?
Right. There was that veterinarian, a young, early 20s veterinarian who I guess had just got signed on with some vet practice, and they got contracted to basically euthanize all the cats in like a big neighborhood. Well, they did it with air rifles. And I think everything was cool until she posted pictures of her with the cliche, trophy holding the dead cats. And it's like, that was uncouth, and you just made a joke of yourself, and now everyone hates you.
Yeah. It can be like, not everyone needs to know these things.
Right. Exactly.
You don't have to, not everyone wants to see it.
Right.
Like, I don't want to see that stuff.
I would much rather have a actual veterinarian with an air rifle, dispatching invasive species humanely and properly than have some, backwoods farmer poisoning everything.
Right.
And I almost don't get mad too much at the farmer, because especially if it's rural, because he's like, I don't know how to do it anywhere else, or I can't afford to do it anywhere else. It's like, well, that's still not good, but ignorance isn't bliss.
Right. Yeah, like the county here, they do like fix and release. So they'll trap these local feral cats, fix them, and then put them back out. And it's like, okay, you've stopped them from making more, but that doesn't stop them from doing what they're doing to everything else.
Exactly. Yep. They're still slaughtering green Carolina anoles by the thousands. And at the same time, you're going to get mad at me and Justin because we kept a pair of corn snakes from the wild. Meanwhile, the neighborhood cat, dude, I have not seen a green anole, a native to Florida green anole, in over 15 years. Now, one might say that's because of curly-tail lizards. One might say that's because of brown and crested anoles. But I'm convinced it has a lot to do with cats and dogs and stuff. How many times down here in South Florida, I mean, I don't know about the Carolinas, but how many times in South Florida, I'm over at my friend's house, the dog's chewing on something, and he's like, hey, Fido, what are you chewing? And he spits out an anole. And it's like, well, there you go. Yo, Cox is not having a good night with our conversation.
Apparently not.
I'm sorry, Ryan. I'm sorry. On a lighter note, the Arturo Fuente Grand Reserve Hemingway is delicious. As always.
Good smoke. It's a good Cameroon.
It's a good Cameroon. Try and get that. There we go.
I think that's a Cameroon. That looks like a chateau.
It might be. I threw the wrapper away real quick and I didn't look at it. It had what looks like the balsa wood on the or whatever wood is on the outside.
And it had the green band on the foot.
Green band on the foot, yes, sir.
Yeah, that's a double chateau. Those are good though. Those are very good.
Excellent. I'm enjoying it, as well as this conversation, despite our soapbox angriness.
I mean, I'm not really angry about it. It's frustrating because, I mean, there's only so much people like the issue is the hobbyists and the people that it actually affects don't have the same wallets that the companies that have nothing to do with the hobby that are trying to, close the doors on it have. And, it's, with everything, as far as the government goes, it always goes to the highest bidder. And
I always want to know, and maybe this is just me because I'm a paranoid guy, maybe it's the conspiracy theorist in me. I want to know what the agenda is for them to ban certain animals without the facts.
Ashtons are good.
The Ashtons. Tell me it's a VSG. Tell me.
You have the ESGs yet?
I have not. I've not had an ESG.
Oh my god.
All right, I'll buy one this weekend.
You thought the VSGs were good. That ESG is like
if I go
top shelf Ashton.
I would say at least, I don't want to say once a month. I would say at least once every other month. I go into the shop, wherever I may be, or even I bust open my own humidor and I'm like, man, what do I want? I can't decide. You know what? Ashton VSG. Done.
I haven't had one in a while. We carry them. I haven't smoked one in a minute.
And my Colibri did beautifully this evening. Thank you again.
Make my pee hole bigger.
Oh, nice. You ever do next cut or no?
Yeah, on some of them.
Some of them. I haven't.
If it's like a bigger gauge, like if it's like a 60, I'll do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I imagine anything under like a 56 or 55, whatever. I imagine it being too frail and it just blowing out. That's all right, Brennan, man. At least you're smoking the good stuff. All that matters.
But as far as cats go, my parents have 2 outdoor cats. I love them to death. They're cats. I love cats.
Mm-hmm.
But all the time, they are bringing up little gifts in the forms of like baby racers, that doesn't bother me. We have so many black racers here. It's ridiculous. Like they're not going to.
And most of the time,
decimate the black racer. No, they're usually dead.
Dude, my cats would always bring home stuff alive. Oh. You mean shrews I had to catch in my house alive?
Well, they have done a good job in that respect as far as like catching moles and stuff like that. Like they've caught a few voles.
Cool.
So they have caught some rats and stuff too. So, I mean, they're doing their job in that regard, but I mean, it sucks when I see them. They caught a bird or something and the bird's dead on the porch, but ton of racers. Which, I mean, I think racers also have a big part in why I don't see many other snakes around here because they freaking eat everything.
Yeah, man.
I don't think people realize, like, racers, literally, if they could fit it in their mouth, they're going to freaking eat it. Doesn't matter what it is.
Which sucks because I wound up having to release that baby that I had because I just could not get it to eat. I even hunted down baby house geckos, still didn't want to eat them.
Yeah, I don't see those doing very well in captivity for the most part, honestly. Like, I don't know why people would want to keep black racers. I don't see why they'd be that much fun. Like coach whips, I can kind of understand.
Well, I wanted to get a baby because I wanted to just break it and not break it, like break it like a horse when you break a horse.
Yeah.
I wanted to tame it down, so to speak. And then how cool would that be to have like a 5.5, 6 foot jet black racer with a white face, like, and it's tame? That would be awesome. But didn't happen. I let it go.
I can kind of see that.
I can see that, but I am not a fan of, hook manipulation, hook technique, building your form and your, what's the word I'm looking for? Your footing. So
your muscle memory.
Right. Building the technique of using a hook, manipulating the animal with said tools. Absolutely. Pretending it's venomous.
Do your thing.
Yeah. So I'm a big proprietor of. Oh, he took the headphones out. I'm a huge proprietor of technique and fundamentals with venomous, learning your capabilities and perfecting them. becoming better at the overall technique, whether it be the way that you turn your wrist, the way that your feet are planted. I oftentimes compare it to dancing. It is not breakdancing, despite what is shown on YouTube. It is a ballet. It is a waltz. It's smooth. It's melodic. It's very free-flowing. It's like Bruce Lee doing kung fu, be the water, It's putting the animal at ease so that you can cut back on the danger factor, because the animal has no reason to be defensive if it's relaxed and at ease. I think training with a black racer to get the hook technique down and to work on your balancing and, sectioning off the animal in thirds and working on that skill set is phenomenal. But to pretend, oh, this is how a cobra is going to react, or this is how a crate is going to react, that's a horrible idea. Because no matter what happens, in the back of your mind, you know that if you get bit, nothing's going to happen. In the back of your mind, if it gets loose, God forbid, nothing's going to happen. And your subconscious is going to continue to hold on to that, whether you want to acknowledge it or not. So using a racer or a red-tailed green rat snake or a big black rat snake, something that has a little length to it or whatever, that's great for working on technique. So is working with ball python. A royal python. So is working with a big blood python. Certain hook techniques in terms of balancing the animal on the actual hook so that you're not injuring their ribs or hurting them or bruising them in any way. It's a ballet. So if you're looking at it in that point of view, awesome. If you're looking at it as, it's just like a cobra, I'll practice. Not the same. Doesn't count.
How come when I grab this one, it bites me and I feel like I'm dying?
Yeah.
Doesn't feel anything like a racer.
There was this guy named Crying Brian. He was an older guy. He used to work at Strictly, and they called him Crying Brian because he complained a lot. He always whined about something. And Strictly got in a supposed venomoid black mamba, but there was no pedigree paperwork of any kind. So normally when you get an animal like that, you do a series of tests. Typically the test is you basically put a paper towel or something on the end of a tweezers, and you get it to bite the paper towel. If there's venom, you're not venomoid. Another way that's a little inhumane is to throw a live rat in there. The rat's going to get bit 4 or 5 times. If the rat's still alive for 5 minutes, it's venomoid. Because on that 4th or 5th bit, if it 4th or 5th bite, it's going to put some venom in. But this guy didn't do any of that. He's like, I'll test it. And he literally reached in the cage, got bit like 4 times in the forearm by this mamba, and then proceeded to have what we called, what the hell did we call it? What, like hypochondria? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's like, oh man, my chest's starting to hurt, man. I think my heart's slowing down. And we're like, dude, you're fine. Like, trust me. Like, trust me, you'd know. And after like an hour, he's like, I think I need to go home. And then we determined that he just wanted to go home. He showed up to work the next day. He was fine.
Like, hey, look at that. You're alive. Weird.
Yeah, right? Like, funny how the Packers game was on that afternoon. You still smoking the brick?
Moving on to bigger game.
Yeah, my man.
The GOAT.
The GOAT. So
I don't think venomoids are as common as they used to be.
You want to throw that up, Justin, so people can see?
What?
Oh, I didn't know you were going to throw up his comment.
Which one? This one?
So venomoids used to be quite common. I would say that you're very correct. True.
Yes, I do.
Very true.
I want all the boiga.
Not to change topic real quick. Back to venomoids real quick. That's a whole other topic. So anyway, venomoids. So there used to be 2 veterinarians in the United States that were actual veterinarians that had their own practices. I believe one of them is the mentor of the other, and I believe that the older gentleman is now deceased. I'll keep names off just because I don't know what they're doing these days. But what they would do is they would actually, at the time, anesthesia was very, very bad with snakes, and most of the snakes just never woke up. They would just die, comatose, whatever. And they learned that if they did a certain mix of nitrous, like the dentist gives you, the snake just gets super loopy and basically acts as if it's asleep. So these individuals actually had special surgical tables made with tie straps for snakes. You know, stretch them out, strap them down, blah, 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 blah. And what they would do is they would actually go inside the mouth, not from the top, but inside. They would actually remove the venom gland, the venom duct. They would cauterize the duct, but not cauterize the actual tooth root. So that way the can continue to grow back. And then where the gland was, they would completely cauterize the inside of the gland pocket. And then they had specially made silicone implants, much like fake boobs. And
like
they
titties.
Like titties. And they would put those in there. And that way the animal did not have any deformity of where the gland, was. And then they would basically hold on to the animal for 4 to 6 months to make sure that the animal's healthy and eating and pooping and everything was good. And then you had your venomoid. And it was actually amazing. And I am totally for venomoids for an educational point of view, for a safety factor, if it's done like that. If you're doing it for showboating, no.
I think they're pointless, period.
If you're letting some guy hack open a snake in his garage, no. I've also heard stories where the venom glands grow back because they're glands and they grow back. And the duct may not have grown back because the actual duct channel is cauterized, but the gland grows back, and that venom is going to go somewhere. And I've actually heard of people being bit by venomoids and getting envenomated, not from the fangs per se, but because it mixed with their saliva, much like a Gila monster. So I agree with Justin. I personally don't have a reason or a point to have a venomoid, and those veterinarians, they don't do it anymore. They're out of it completely, probably because they got a lot of flack for it. But it used to be a thing. And it used to be.
I don't get the point. Like, if you're keeping venomous, you're keeping venomous. Right. If you want something that's not venomous, there's thousands of other species you can get. Like, you want a cobra that's not venomous, get a hognose or a false water or something. It's just stupid. It's like saying you want a gun, so you go buy, a Glock look-alike that shoots BBs like a BB gun.
I see your point. I do. I don't know. I
don't get it. It's like you either do it or you don't.
I don't know. There is certain danger factors in an educational standpoint that don't necessarily need to be there, but at the same time, you take the precautions to make sure that accidents don't happen. I'm not condoning venomoids by any means.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, I see what you're saying. I get it, but I've always thought they were pointless. Like, what's the point of keeping venomous if you're just taking out the venom part?
Right.
It just seems pointless to me. And you're putting that snake through all that for what?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yep. And what's funny, the state, whether it be Florida or whatever, the state still considers it venomous. And why is that?
Probably because of the percentage of risk of it, something happening, even if it's supposed to be void.
The offspring are still venomous.
Yeah.
There's actually a paper in Florida stating that, because I guess somebody wanted to bring in a bunch of venomoids as like a loophole. They're like, oh, I don't need a venomous license. They're venomoid. It's like, no, they can still have hot babies. Tough shit.
We're not that stupid.
Brendan asked if it would be something for venomous training, and he, says, or is it still something that hurts you mentally? It does. It's a false sense of security. You assume that it's not the same.
Like training with a fake gun.
Exactly. You know that a bullet is never going to come out of that gun because it physically cannot come out. I give you a real gun and tell you, hey, be careful. It's a big difference. But like my mother always says, you can unload a gun, but you can't unload a snake.
Tell that to Ray Hoser.
Right? Our Lord and Savior.
Oh my God. Glazing over that.
Yeah.
Going back to this dog-tooth cat snake thing. Hell
Yeah.
yeah, I do. I don't know if Terry's gonna send me anything else though, because he sent me that rhino rat snake and I lost it, and so now he's probably like, "Fuck that guy."
You don't know that, man. Accidents happen.
I do want more Boyga though.
I can honestly say I've been lucky with not having. There's like no wood around here to knock on. I have without having snakes get out. I've had some lizards get loose. I've had some bugs get loose. Found the bugs. Escape-proof room. But
Well, that's the nice thing with scorpions too. You can't find them. Just turn the lights off and put on a black light.
yeah, that's true. That is very true. Yeah,
Hey, it's glowing in the corner. I see it.
I had emperor scorpions that were smuggled out of Sierra Leone in like 2008, 2006. And my girlfriend was living with me at the time, and she's stupid. And I had them in satellite drawers, okay?
Yeah.
It was super cool because like I was like, I don't need a rack system. I don't need heating. They're emperors. But dude, Sierra Leone emperors, they're like, I don't know how to do this with scale because of the stupid camera, but like
they're like emperors on roids.
they're gigantic. They were like, I don't want to say 8 inches, maybe like 7 inches from like chelicerae to tail tip.
Mm-hmm.
And they were just diesel. Guess what? They pushed those drawers open.
What?
Yup. I found the drawer. I came home one day. I came home late. I was out partying with friends. I came home like midnight. And each drawer was cracked just enough for them little suckers to crawl up out. And I did not tell my girlfriend. And I started to rip the room apart. She's like, what are you looking for? I was like, I lost my headphones. I can't find my headphones. I don't know where they are. She's like, well, I'll help you. I was like, no. I was like, just get in bed, watch TV. I'll find them. And I ripped that room apart. And I could not find, I lost 2 of them, the male and the female, the big ones. And she wound up leaving. She moved back to New York. And so that was about 6 months. She left her dresser. And I was like, I'm sick of looking at this friggin' dresser. I moved the dresser, found one dead on the carpet. I was like, move the bed, found the other one dead underneath the bed. So escape-proof room.
What is your? This is something I was thinking about today. For like talking about on here, but like, what is if someone like starter venomous? What's your top like 3? What's your top 3?
My top 3. I think that my top 3 is difficult because I want to say false water cobra. I want to say that, but you're still going to play with it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You're still going to play with it, and you're still going to. You may be weary in the beginning, but eventually you're going to realize, oh, it's used to me. It's not going to bite me, and I'm fine. So I want to say false water cobra, but I'm not going to say false water cobra. I will definitely say copperhead. I think copperhead's big. The problem is that people don't realize how nasty they really are in terms of toxicity. They're like, oh, you may just lose your finger. It's like, no, you could still have anaphylactic shock and die. So
they're just like squams, dude. They're not that bad.
Yeah, exactly. The infamous squam discussion. There's a reason why the horse rejects the antibodies. Did I say that right? Yeah. Regardless, there's a reason why the horse can't make the antivenom. Because it's not good venom. It's bad venom. But I would say copperheads. Doesn't matter what locality or what subspecies. Honestly, cottonmouths, man. I love cottonmouths. And they will give you the same pep and the same spunkiness that a smaller species of rattlesnake gives you, but they're much more understanding both in husbandry as well as in handling. I find it much easier to handle a cottonmouth than a Western Diamondback or a pygmy rattlesnake or Massasauga. I think cottonmouths and copperheads are probably two of the best beginner venomous. Let me think. Let me think of something that's not native. Another one that I think is really good that you don't see too often is one of my favorites is Malayan pit vipers. Malayan pit vipers are one of my favorite snakes. They have the look of something crazy old world. They have the strike speed of a fertilance, but they pretty much.
Rotostoma.
What's that?
Rotostoma?
Yeah, Calicelesma rotostoma.
What?
But they act more like a pissed off cottonmouth. They're more
gnarly,
to sit there and flap their tail than they are to freak out and shoot across the room. You know, you can never tail it. It's, in my personal opinion, is an untailable snake. I would never do it. I don't care how tame the animal is, but I think that species is a snake that can be single hooked or double hooked appropriately. I think the husbandry is minimal. I think the danger factor is most definitely there. But I feel like a combination of ease of handling and husbandry put that in there. I do. And I'm going to catch you.
Yeah, that's kind of that's the weird kind of thing about it though, is like at what point do you go from keeping something that's kind of predictable in terms of what it's going to do, like it's going to ride a hook well, it's not going to give any issues as far as like regular maintenance and dealing with it. Like at what point do you kind of step that up and now you got to deal with a species that is squirrely?
And no, it makes 110% sense. And it's difficult because you're right. You're totally right. But you need to have mentorship. You have to.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the problem, is that if you're in a predicament where you have no mentorship, then you should never keep anything else besides native stuff because of anti-venins and it's local and all that. You need to have mentorship. You have to. I had it, the people before me had it, and that's what has to happen. And mentorship doesn't mean hours upon hours or years upon years of training. It means physically getting the opinions and the knowledge of someone who's been doing it longer, whether it be good knowledge or bad knowledge. Hear it out. In Florida, it's real hard to get a venomous license, and I always tell people, don't just train with me. Find somebody else. Get 2, 3, 4, 10 different opinions of how to do something and mold it to yourself. I will rarely tell you that you're wrong unless it's A, unsafe, or B, I explain it to you and say, hey, it's a good idea, but don't do it because of XYZ.
Cox, I think the answer to that would be a spedalapse.
Yeah,
do you agree with that?
Yes and no. I feel like if you've worked with the most psychotic copperhead you've ever had in your entire life, and you wanted to prepare yourselves for elapids, then yeah, go with a spitalaps. But spitalaps are horrible. They do not ride a hook. In fact, I actually, at the farm, I have special hemostats that we made. I mean, I don't made, but I bought really long locking hemostats, and I dipped the tips of them in silicone rubber because it gets to the point where you try and hook it. It's too small to tail. It's only that big. You can't tail it. So you're single hooking it and it flops off, and you single hook it and it flops off, and it flops off, and it flops off. And now you're getting frustrated. You have two choices. You can either change your method of attack, or you can stop what you're doing and come back to it later. Because the more frustrated you get, an accident's happen. So I made these hemostats so that I tell myself, if I can't get them on the third try, I'm going to very gently grab them with the hemostats, lift them up, and put them in the container real quick. And they're rubber tipped. I'm not squeezing hard enough that I'm going to break a rib or break its vertebrae. I'm just going to grab it real quick, lift it up, and put it down. And that is so annoying. I hate doing that. So until you are prepared with the most psychotic copperhead of your life, or the most pissed off cottonmouth of your life, or the callus rotostoma, if you can actually find one, then yeah, go with that and lead you to it. But I'm sorry, rink hauls are nothing like the coral cobra. The coral cobra is a joke compared to a rink halls, and rink halls aren't that bad.
I thought my Atrox was a pretty good, like that kept me on my toes.
Yeah, Dr. E always says that Atrox is a great starter animal because it gives you the fear. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And as much as I respect and admire Dr. E is the fucking man. I don't completely agree with that, because if you're too afraid, then you're not going to enjoy it and you're not going to want to interact with it. And now the animal's suffering. You know?
I don't know. I mean, it put a healthy bit of like, I don't know what this thing's going to do, so I need to be ready for pretty much anything, because that thing, like, Atrox can move, dude.
Oh, yeah.
Like, mine would do some really wacky stuff, and it was like every time I was doing something, anything, whether, you know, with the you know, copperhead and the western, you know, I put my phone on silent, I took it out of my pocket, I turned off any music or anything I had, like 100%, just blinders, focused on what I was doing.
Right.
And it's because there was a few times with that western that it was just like, what is like, why are you? I mean, it got to a point where I kind of figured I figured her out pretty well, and I kind of knew what to expect going in. But like, she would just do circles around the Neodecia first going in there, and then I know that she'd stop at some point, and then she'd just sit there and wait. And so it was like, okay, go in there, tap with the hook, let her do her thing, and she'd stop. And it got to be fairly routine for the most part, but still, man, there was, I mean, like one of the last times I was doing anything with her before I got rid of them and I was cleaning the cage and stuff, I pulled her out and put her in my bucket. I had a 5-gallon bucket with one of the locking lids.
Yeah.
And she had gotten big enough at that point to where she could come back out of that bucket.
Oh yeah.
And I kind of knew she was getting to that point, but I didn't think she had reached it yet. And one night she came right out. It caught me off guard a little bit, but that was when I was like, all right, now I know. Next time.
Yep.
You know, and my biggest thing has always been, you know, if they freak out and they, you know, try to take off somewhere, you know, within reason, just let them do it.
Yeah.
Like, where are they going to go? You know?
And most of the time, they're not going to completely haul ass. They're going to go for a foot or two, stop, get their bearings, and then keep going. And then that one moment, you have a chance to get another loop on it or whatever.
It just seems to me like a lot of people getting into venomous, you know, they feel like it has to be contained all the time. Like, this cannot go, you know, if I open the door to the cage, I can't let it come out for a foot or so calmly. Like, it has to be sort of manhandled and controlled. And
no, I agree 110%. But there are certain species that you need to let come out on their own, and there are certain species that you shouldn't. I am not a proprietor of letting the cobra come out on its own. The cobra's face is coming out. No, I want his face in the back of the cage, and I want tail first. That's me. I've seen people do it where they let the head come out, and everything's honky-dory, and I've seen times where they let the head come out, and the thing hooded up and sat there hooded, and now they're like, crap, what do I do now? You know, I usually teach what I call the indigestion. I usually teach what I call the 5 what-ifs. And basically, let's pretend that a snake is only capable of 5 things, okay? You cannot predict which one of those 5 things it's going to do. But if you aim for all 5 and you're mentally prepared for all 5, it doesn't matter what it does because you know what it's capable of and you know how to react to it. People who only think, oh, it always does this. It only does 1 and 2. Well, guess what? When 3 or 4 or all 5 happen at once, you're up the creek. So that's where that whole thing of learning from other people, getting second opinions, third opinions, eighth opinions. It comes into a big play. I think that, Spitalaps are great starter elapids. I do, but they're not the same as a cobra. They're not the same as a crate. They're not the same. They're not the same as a Malayan blue coral. It's not the same. And some animals are easy. Some animals, I've had cobras where they literally sat there and did nothing. And I just take a hook, I pick it up with one hook, like a limp noodle, and put it in the bucket. And I've had other ones where I sat there for 20, 30 minutes and said, you know what? It's not happening tonight. I'm going to bed. And I went to bed.
Yeah. That's another thing people, and that's something I didn't even realize. I was listening to some video with Jim Harrison or something, and they were talking about sort of their protocols more or less. And they were saying, hey, if it's storming outside, we don't work with snakes, because if we have something out and it's a thunderstorm, power goes out, guess what? We're now stuck in a dark room with a snake. I never really thought about that kind of stuff. And so that was a policy I adopted. Like, if it's storming, guess what? I'm not doing anything with any of the venomous stuff. If I'm sick or I'm not feeling up, like if I don't feel up to doing anything with them, I'm not going to do it.
Hey, that just happened to Henry like 2 months ago. We had a storm rolling in. It wasn't raining. It wasn't thunder. It wasn't lightning. It was just dreary out. And I'm sure the storm was on the horizon, and something blew somewhere, and he had a black and white spinning cobra on the hook. As he's putting it back in its enclosure, lights turn off, pitch black. And he's just like, and then as he thinks to himself, I'm just going to literally toss it in the bucket and stand still until I can get my phone out of my pocket with a flashlight on it. And as he's thinking this, the power came back, luckily. And the snake just sat there, because the snake's doing the same thing. Like, whoa, what happened? Why did it go so And I always, anytime I do venomous, I always have a flashlight. I usually carry a flashlight for work every day, but I always have a flashlight on me. And I also, that's another thing that I train with hook technique is, depending on the animal, can you go from a traditional hook and snake balancing act? Can you go from that to one-handed properly without the animal even knowing what's happened?
Right.
I was actually just showing my friend this the other day. We were actually doing it with what's the black-tailed green rat? What the hell is that called?
The Gonyosoma.
Yeah, Gonyosoma. So gorgeous Gonyosoma. By the way, I thought of you. I was like, man, Justin would love this animal. It's like
I want the Jensen so.
That's the one like olive with a black tail.
Like the tan color, yeah. Like the white and black ones, more or less.
Oh yeah,
vanilla.
This one's like almost like a pea soup color, but it has a jet black tail and yellow eyes. Anyway.
Yeah, that might be like, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I was showing my friend using that animal. And that's a great animal because they rear back on you. And it's not just rear up like a cobra, it rears back and it has like multiple
they launch.
Yeah, they launch. So I was showing him the balancing act of, it doesn't matter what animal you have. You learn the technique, you balance the animal appropriately. The animal has no idea what's going on. I mean, that snake was on high alert the whole time. The pupils were dilated, the neck was puffed out, the tongue was being held out and doing that slow flickering thing.
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't launch, it didn't jerk, it didn't strike, it didn't gape. It literally sat there perfect for me because I had it completely. And, I'm not holding the tail. I'm cradling the tail. I'm letting the tail drape over my fingers. And at one point I said, hey, all of a sudden something happened and you have to use a hand. Well, what are you going to do? You're going to throw this thing on the floor? No, you're going to transition. And I showed him how to transition to having hook and tail to having hook and tail. And now I have a free hand. And then back and forth. And now I have, and, I'm not ambidextrous. I can't do shit with my left hand. But I'll be damned if I can't handle a snake with my left hand. Man.
Yeah, it's just like shooting. It's one of those skills you'd rather have and not need than need not have.
Exactly. So, I don't know. Did we answer Ryan's question or no?
Yeah, I guess. It's just that's something. There's just so many, and that's sort of my whole spiel with like venomous and stuff is. A very large percentage of people that are keeping them don't like really shouldn't be. Like they're not doing everything they really should be, and there goes my train of thought. They don't consider things like, you know, the power outage thing. You know, hey, if you're not feeling all that great, or for some reason you just feel off that day, like it's okay that water can stay dirty for another day. It's not gonna hurt anything. It's just knowing your limits seems to be the biggest issue in venomous.
Of course,
a lot of people don't. Like a lot of people feel like they have to do something, or they can't not do this today. Like it has to happen. Like I may not, I'm not on my game today, but screw it, I got this to do. It's like you don't though.
I had a friend call me up and he's like, bro, I really don't want to ask you this, but will you come help me handle my Cobra? And at first I was like, why? Like, you know what you're doing. What? Like why? Like you know your shit. You know what I mean? And he's like, listen, the thing's acting a fool. I'm getting frustrated. My wife is losing her mind because the thing took a massive dump and the whole house smells. I got to clean this. And I was like, all right, I'll come over. And I didn't even touch the animal. I just stood there, and the time it took me to hang up the phone and drive to his house was enough time for that snake to chill out. And I told him that. I was like, listen, dude, it's been 20 minutes. Try again. Let's get the snake out. If it starts to give you shit, I'll jump in, fresh eyes, fresh hands. And he took it out perfectly fine. The snake was fine. But you got to tell the wife, hey, it's going to be smelly. I'm sorry, I'm not doing it. It's a safety factor. One of the things that I love about the Venomous Mentor group on Facebook, which I don't even know if you're a member of, are you?
I don't know. I was in it at one point. Let me see.
You got to get in it, man. If you're not in it, I'll add you. It's the only Facebook group. That and the Ather is what I've been kind of dabbling in. But those guys are crazy because they take amazing photos, and I'm jealous. But the Venomous Mentor group, it's started by Dr. E. It's a great group, man. Tons of knowledge, beginners, experts, everybody. But one of the biggest things they always remind each other, which I think is great, is if it's a snowstorm, don't play with your venomous. Don't clean your venomous. If it's a hurricane,
might as well be on the moon.
Right. If it's a hurricane, don't do it. If it's just a bad storm, like you said, don't do it. If it's the 4th of July, don't do it. If it's New Year's, don't do it. If it's Christmas, don't do it. Why? Because there's no ambulances running. There's not enough ambulances running. There's very little hospital staff. All the hospitals are short-staffed because everyone's on vacation for the holidays. Don't do it. Simple. It's simple, And another thing that I've actually started to do myself is have your contingency plan if you're by yourself. God forbid something happens, you're by yourself. Are you going to have an allergic reaction that makes you so debilitated that you physically can't dial 911? Are you?
Right. Right. I mean, like that's when if you get bit, I think a lot of people are under the impression like I'll just go to the hospital and they'll fix me and it'll be fine. I'll go home. 2 days later, it's like you may not be awake.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does your family know what you're keeping? Are they going to be able to tell the doctor, oh, yeah, it was a gaboon viper? And then you have the issue of the doctor's going to be like, well, what the hell is a gaboon viper? Let me start making some phone calls while your arm is swelling to Michelin man sizes.
Let's go back a step. Let's go even a little lighter. Let's not even say gaboon. Let's say that it's a copperhead, a snake that is mildly venomous in relativity, a snake that there is copious amounts of antivenin for nationwide, but you have an allergic reaction. Now, is your wife, is your girlfriend, is your roommate, is your significant other mentally prepared for seeing their loved one incapacitated, laying on the floor, unconscious?
Yep.
Are they going to go, oh my God, I need to do XYZ? Or are they going to go,
right, panic and shut down.
Yeah, and shut down, exactly. And that's not a knock on them. It's not. It's not insulting to them. It's a fact of reality. It's something.
It's real world.
Real world. We talked about. At one point, I had a pretty good venomous class going on. I had maybe 8 people at one time, rotating, a couple days here, a couple days there. And my one friend hosted a little dinner party. We bought food and everybody came over, had some beers, and I made a PowerPoint. It was like my first ever snake PowerPoint. It was super. But I made a PowerPoint of what to do if you're by yourself and shit happens, and what to do if you're the significant other, if you're the roommate, if you're the wife, whatever. And I put in some of the most gruesome, fucked up photos that I could find, and the wives, their jaws dropped. And the guys' jaws dropped because the guys thought to themselves, holy crap, I never went through this with my wife. And then the wife realized, oh my God, I never realized what this was.
Yeah.
And the point was not to scare people. I don't want to scare people. I don't want to deter people. This is an awesome thing that we're doing. We're passionate. We love these animals. But this is a fact. It's going to, God forbid, be like this. So you have to be mentally prepared for it. And it goes way farther than just having some bite protocol that you threw into a 3-ring binder. You know?
Yeah. But even then, like that, I think that just having that, because you know Joe at the Snakebite Institute, you can buy those protocols from him. I think the basic North American crotolid one is like $4. That could be the $4 that determines, you know, your fate in something like that. And it's like, why wouldn't you, like, there's no excuse to not have that.
You're right.
And even just flipping through it, I was like, if I was a doctor and I had this given to me when a patient came in was bit, I'd be ecstatic.
But
because just the contacts list and stuff of like, hey, here's people I can call that are doctors that know what they're doing. You know, just.
But I will say this, hopefully Joe is not listening because I purchased them. I think they're great. He does a fantastic job for the money. I cannot ask for a better $5 bite protocol. It's amazing. But in my personal opinion, the people that he listed as local experts in my area, I do not agree with in the least capacity whatsoever at all. That aside, my favorite part of it is that he gives step-by-step instructions as not necessarily administering the antivenom, but this could happen. This could happen. If
here's
this
what you can expect. Yeah.
Right. If this happens, hit him with 20 cc's of this, you know, because the guy has a major medical background. And that, I think, is the crucial part. It really is. Is the what if part of the bite protocol.
Yeah. It seems stupid to me that someone would not go ahead and just pony over the dough and get one, you know. And I still have mine. I need to find someone who needs one because I don't need mine.
Yeah.
So
actually, I threw Joe some curveballs. I was like, listen, I got this, and this, and he's like, well, there is no specific one for that, but if you use this one, you should be fine. And I was like, all right, I figured as much. You know. Plus, I'll be honest, Henry's kind of a anti-venom junkie. And he sends me all, you know, research articles and stuff, and he's really good about being up and up on the medical side, on the pharmacology side, if you will. So it's good to have a friend like him, you know.
I'm still bummed I can't find that old video of the gaboon bite.
So you're not gonna find it, man. You're not gonna find it.
I'll go on the dark web or something to find it. I don't care,
dude. It's so
how to exist.
It might be out there somewhere. It might be, but oh man,
God,
Henry sent a photo tonight from one of his friends on Instagram of a Legion's Cobra. Dude, I miss mine so bad. And like a Legion's Cobra in Morocco, in the wild, just looking majestic as fuck. And dude, I need it. I want one. I miss it, like really bad.
Every time I see pictures of Nishii, I get a chub.
And meanwhile, a friend of mine.
I just passed one on Google, and so I'm like.
I was gonna say a friend of mine just got an import shipment of them, and he gave me a great price, but I just can't afford it right now with like Christmas passing and everything. So I had to pass. But I was like, oh man, I should just get a pair, and then I'll just give Justin all the babies. I
don't think I'll ever keep exotic venomous. I mean, my venomous days, aside from Boiger, are pretty much over, I think, with the child in the house and stuff. But it's just, like I said, it's knowing your limits. Like keeping – I'd love to keep bush vipers and stuff. But to me, it's like if you're just keeping them to keep them, is the risk worth it? I don't think it is personally. That's me though.
Yeah, but you never know, man. There may be a day when, you know, when your daughter is older and things are different, and you may, you know, wifey may evolve in her thought process, and it may be better. You never know.
Like I have no doubt that I can do it safely, and that I won't have any issues, at least in my control.
Right.
But it's just like, you know, to have them and then, you know, breeding them, I'm not going to feel comfortable selling to pretty much anybody except for, you know, select few like yourself. But it's just like, is it really worth it just to have it and something happen and then be like, well, you know, why'd I get bit? Because I felt compelled to have it, and that be it, you know?
Yeah. Excellent, Ryan. You are the man, because I have yet to get a hotel room, and I'm highly planning on it. It's on my to-do list.
I'm camping. I got to find a tent. I got to get a tent.
How many rooms are in your Airbnb, Cox?
Oh, I think they have a spare one. So you may want to look into rooming with those fools.
With them, or with that same Airbnb, like the same house, or
that same house?
Oh, all right.
I think it's him, his girlfriend, James Lewis and his wife, and then Joe and Melissa from Port City Pythons.
Okay.
So that may solve your
maybe
dorm rolls.
I'm trying to get Henry to come with me, because even though he's not a big Morelia guy, he needs to meet all y'all. So
well, I mean, you should be going just to see Cody's stuff alone. Like, that's worth the trip, man. His setups are freaking immaculate, dude.
Yeah, sometimes I get really upset with myself because I'm like, man, I could totally do that, but I'm just so lazy.
They put they put a lot of effort into their setups, man. It's really nice, with most of them at least.
Cool.
You know, they have a few in like racks and stuff, but like their Montaigne room, which has all their Bactriacus and stuff. Oh my god,
Nice.
Unbelievable.
Nice. Oh,
yeah. I can't find this video.
You still looking for that Gaboon video?
Yes.
Well, stop, because you're not gonna find it.
It's the internet. Everything exists on here, man. You can't give up.
I'm sending you that Legionis picture because it needs to be shared. Had to happen.
You ever see that video of Nigel Marvin getting chewed on by that falsy?
What?
You ever see that video of Nigel Marvin getting chewed on by that false water cobra? I think it's screen share time.
Go for it.
Let's see, let me find it.
Sorry, Cox. I am going to see you and the people. I'm not going just to see Montaigne setups. I've had Bileniatus. Meh.
Are we ready?
Ryan, I would say no, not normally. I gotta be honest, man, this is so cool that we can do this. It's like so 21st century of us.
That's a big false water cobra, first of all.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and it just latches onto him. Where is he? Like,
I don't want to get. I don't know.
Oh my God, what's wrong with him?
I think it doesn't stop there. Like, this thing really gives it to him, dude.
Oh my God.
And of course, his arm swelled up like crazy.
It makes me wonder if, oh God, Jesus.
You can see it just unload on him, dude.
He has no idea what species that is. He doesn't know.
Like that's a big enough falsity to like you're gonna feel that.
Yeah.
Like that's
what he must not know. Does he talk?
I think at one point he's like it's starting to tingle a little bit. I don't remember the exact dialogue. I don't think you can hear the audio, but
oh my god. Oh, look
it's just there.
Oh god. And someone's gonna correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that venom is almost entirely cytotoxic. So like
I believe so.
He's just gonna bleed.
I mean, he already is. Like that's a lot of blood. Like normally, any other snake bite, that would
yeah. See how loose the blood is and runny it is. That's that cytotoxin, man. It's just killing all the blood cells. Oh, God.
Actually, I think you're right. I think he wasn't aware of what species that was. Like, let me go back.
Or hey, man, the camera makes people do stuff.
Oh no, he knows what it is.
Oh, all right.
He says no venom, of course, but
yeah, that's
like you got to know. How do you know that's a false water cobra and not know it's venomous?
Because the guy behind the camera said, "Oh, it's a false water cobra. Don't worry about it." Little did he know.
That's a big one, dude.
Yeah, it's pretty good size. I like that reduced pattern. Reduced pattern looks cool. That looks like Bolivian or like the West Coast localities. It doesn't look like Amazonian or like Suriname or French Guyana or anything like that. It's like a bee sting.
Yes, Brennan.
Yes, most definitely.
I don't know why, because that's like if you play that game, it's the stupidest trophy that you win, and no one cares about it.
I am more than content with the best 3 inches of anyone's life. Henry just texted me. He says, "I just started now. What did I miss?" Henry, you missed a lot. You missed invasive species in Florida. You missed South Carolina rules and regulations being proposed in government. You missed the topic of venomoids. I almost feel like this should have been a podcast because it's been really good so far. Missed talking about Henry copious amounts of times and all the Legion Cobras that he's going to buy us.
Oh, that is a cool ass picture, dude.
I told you. Henry always provides, man. Amazing. Awesome. Love that. I gotta dig up my pictures of my old ones. I was telling Henry I had you and I's mutual Bushmaster friend, if you catch my drift.
Mm-hmm.
He came into 6 babies that were just like a week old. Somebody was just like, "Here, I don't want these, take them." And back in the day, we used to just give each other snakes, man. That was just it. Venomous was so cheap back then that we just gave each other stuff. And he had 6 of them. He kept 2. He sold 2. And then he gave me 2. So I kept 1 and I gave 1 to another friend. Long story short, all of them died except for mine. A lot of people
Not to brag.
Yeah. A lot of people don't realize this, but when they think of Morocco, they just think of straight desert. And yeah, most of it is arid, but when you get into the foothills of the Atlas Mountains, it's steppe land. It's very savanna-y, and it's a lot of desert stone. It's like desert with humidity. So I was thinking to myself, I'm like, man, all these guys are having bad luck. Why don't I make 2, I call it a triple bowl. You do a bowl for water, a bowl for sphagnum, and a bowl as a hide box. And why is Cox gonna have a stroke?
If it's the speckleds, I think they are. Don't bother buying them, Cox.
Sorry, I missed that one. Okay. So anyway, blonde hognose are way cooler. Way cooler. So I kept this thing alive for like 5-6 years. The thing turned
Speckleds are awesome. It's the person selling them that's not.
We named this Moroccan. We named him Couscous, and he was literally the chest popper alien. He would sit in the lip of the vision cage, and he would strike down, upside down, out the vision cage glass like a chest popper alien,
like Spider-Man.
Yeah, like Spider-Man. And he died out of the blue. I actually had him at my friend Zach's house, and I was there like the night before. We cleaned his cage, everything was cool, and the next day, dead. Very sad. So now anymore.
You'll get those, but you won't buy the Nishii.
Yeah, you're right.
That's crap. That's blasphemy.
I don't know, man. Legions have a special like thing in my heart. Like I don't want to say it, but they might be. I think they are my favorite Cobra. Henry and I always go back and forth because Henry's a huge King guy. Like that's like his forte. He knows everything about him. Eventually, he will be writing the quintessential book. I'm waiting for him to do it. But we always talk about like how cool Andaman Island Cobras are. That is actually something that you should probably put up on the screen. Andaman Island Cobras are endemic. They're endemic to the Andaman Islands, which is owned by or governed by India. And there's no export, there's no import, there's no nothing. They're totally protected. But all we do is Google pictures of them.
Dude, I've never even heard of those before. Those are freaking sweet.
The Sagittifera. Nausea Sagittifera. Excuse me. Sagittifera.
It looks like a gargoyle as a cobra.
Right? The adults are kind of ugly. I mean, they very much are.
They look pretty freaking dope.
The adults?
Yeah.
They're kind of like a poo brown color.
I mean, this one's like almost has like a Bushmaster sort of pattern to it.
Yeah, yeah. But do those babies, those turquoise banded babies, like click that one on the bottom left with the monocle on the back. Yeah, dude. That's where it's at. And Diamond Island Cobras. So yeah, it's like a hard press between that and the Legions for me. I just love Legions. What are you sending me, Henry? Henry says that this one is not pretty, which I think he's out of his mind.
I just think like that looks cool, dude. I don't know how old this picture is. It looks fairly aged, but
yeah. But they're a cool species, man.
That's very bizarre looking. But that one's freaking cool, dude. It looks like a statue.
Right? Like it's made of like porcelain.
And the babies look like little crates.
Yeah, they do. A little silvery. Oh, sorry. Henry says, no, it's super pretty. You know, Henry, you could just type on the live comments, you know. Yeah, man, there was once a point in my life, in my younger years, when I just started getting into Cobras, and I was like, I'm going to do my damnedest to get every species. And at the time, I think there was only like 23. And I was like, that's doable, 23 snakes, that's easy. And like hindsight, thank God I didn't. Because that would just be a mess.
Ooh, do you ever keep any of the Ovophis?
The what?
Those Ovophis?
Ovophis.
Those weird Asian these things.
Show me this. Show me this snake.
I'm showing you these things.
Ovophis? No. What is that?
The Tonkin pit viper.
Oh, yeah. I've never had one. Never had one.
Those are really, really bizarre.
It was a Tokonensis or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tokonensis. I never had that.
There was a guy who posted in one of the, I think it was maybe the Trimeresurus group. He got bit by one.
Oh, was that the one with the guy with the tweezers?
I don't know. He had tattoos and stuff.
Oh no, what's the one? It's from Asia, and it's like some Asian kid, and he's feeding on hemostats that are way too short, and the thing just latched on.
Oh yeah, no, I think that was a that looked more like a mamushi or something.
Yeah. I'll tell you what though, man, dude, Henry and I have been texting back and forth about the Laticinctus. Dude, that is like the tree viper, man. I know you love your Nichii, but dude.
I mean, those are pretty badass too. Like, I can't argue that. Those are pretty cool looking.
That's cool. Fauna. Dude, I won't lie. I can't use fauna unless it's on the Tapatalk app. I just can't do it. It just drives me crazy. Like, I search for something and I'm like, oh my God, look, that's a great price. That's a great looking animal. Oh yeah, it's from 2012. Never mind. Like, that's super annoying.
Because someone commented 10 years later and was like, is this available still?
Yeah, exactly. This
is another one that I've got kind of a fetish for, these Amidites.
Yeah, man.
Those things are...
You got to Google. So there's I guess it would be the Northern Alps. There's a Northern Alps locality from Austria that's black and white and red. You got to Google that. Henry, you're killing me here, bro. Henry, we're finding your Austrian Amidites. Actually, didn't I send you a picture of that?
I don't think so. Here's another one that if I could keep it, I would, and that's the Asnakovi.
What?
Asnakovi. Those things are freaking sweet, dude. Those things are so badass.
Dude, and then apparently there's a section of Azerbaijan that are like the reddest of the red. And I guess some dudes in Europe got them, and they're going to, mark my words, in the next like 3 or 4 years, you're going to see some Krasnokovi that are out of any, I don't want to call them like a Caspian locale, but it's definitely Azerbaijan, and they are just screaming hot, man. Just like flaming flames on the sides. I know that's redundant, flaming flames. Where is this picture?
There's another species in Iran I think is really cool. What is that? Monte Vipera. Fingers are cold, I can't type.
Oh my God, there are so many pictures of snakes. Oh my God, what am I doing? Now I can't find it. There it is.
Not Wagnerite. What is it?
That is amazing. I don't know if you want to go full screen for that.
Hold on. Oh yeah, I think you did send me that.
I did send you. How awesome is it? The red tail tip. It's like a stormtrooper viper.
That's freaking sweet.
Oh, and then there's the Georgian. You've seen the Georgian Krasnokovi?
Oh,
how awesome is that?
I'm gonna freaking flip this table, dude. Stop.
Ryan Cox, it would be my pleasure to mentor you on Heliderma. It would be the best 20 minutes of your life. Yeah, it's funny because, I hate to just talk about my boy Henry over and over and over again, but he's very much an Alapa guy. That's like his pure passion. But just recently he's been looking at vipers, and it just goes to show you how we all start with something we like. We all look at something and go, man, that's amazing. So what do? We do our homework. We do our research. We find pictures. We talk to friends who have them, friends who have bred them. We make friends. We lose friends, all that stuff. And then years later, something that we just didn't give a crap about, now we want it,
Yeah.
Like, for example, I used to really like Telescopus, the African tiger snakes.
Yeah.
And I never got them. I was like, oh, they're cool. I'll get them one day. And then they just dried up. And then, dude, Nippers got them. And, dude, like
Dude,
I'm
he's
sorry.
a nut for telescopus, man. He's like all about those things.
That's awesome. Hold on, let me get this glare right.
And I laugh at him all the time because I'm like, why? Like, I don't get it.
You don't get it?
I don't get it.
Super cool.
I mean, yeah,
Awesome.
I've seen those. Like, yeah, I don't know. Whatevs.
I guess to each their own.
But then I look at all these Boyga and I'm just like, give me all of them. I don't care how difficult they are to keep.
Did anyone send you this? I don't know if this is leucistic or if this is some kind of aberrant pattern, but this is a coral cobra. Dang it! There we go.
I want to go to sleep.
Okay.
Hurry up.
Okay. Looks like a cow king.
Some of us
I
have
know, but it's not. It's awesome. Is it officially the witching hour?
I think it is the witching hour.
Well, I had a lovely evening with you, sir. I think this may be one of the best ones we've ever done.
I think so as well. I was thinking the same thing.
Should have been a podcast.
I've thought about ripping the audio from these and uploading them.
At least this one.
Did she just lock me out?
Uh-oh.
I think she did.
Well, good night, everyone. Good night, Ryan Cox. Good night, Brennan. Good night, Henry, if you're still watching.
Yep. We will see all of y'all later.
Good night.
Deuces.